All right, let's go ahead and call the Senate to order. Sergeant Arms, please secure the doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, we will use this morning's invocation in place of today's invocation. So if all members have recorded their presence. Oh, we had a couple more here. Has everyone hit their button? All right, the clerk will take the call. With 45 members in the chamber and a quorum now being present, the Senate of Maryland is again in session. All right, Senators, we have not too terribly much. We're in a pretty decent spot. We're going to kind of go with the flow today, so we're going to try and get through the second reader. We got the Terps game at 8:45, so we'll make that a marker. But we'll see. We're going to take the time we need. We're not going to rush anything. So, all right. Are there any announcements before we jump in? Any announcements? It appears not. So be considered the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We have some additional... Oh, actually, wait a second. Before we jump in, I think we do have one resolution. Chair recognizes the senator from the 27th District.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. It's my privilege to welcome 13-year-old Nicholas Jackson, no relations to this point, and his parents, Robin and Corey Jackson, joining us virtually from Brandywine this evening. Back in December, colleagues...
And Senator, if you could just give us one quick moment. Let's give us one... There we go.
All right.
Senator, may proceed.
All right, Mr. President, colleagues, it is my privilege to welcome 13-year-old Nicholas Jackson and his parents, Robin and Corey Jackson, joining us virtually from Brandywine, Maryland. Back in December, colleagues, Nicholas won the 2020 Junior World Finals Bull Riding Championship in Fort Worth, Texas. Nicholas is a third-generation cowboy who truly has rodeo sports in his blood. At a very young age, he has admirably represented Prince George's County and all of Southern Maryland on the national stage. And I'm sure that he's bound to do even greater things. I've asked that Nicholas be recognized with a Senate resolution to commemorate his outstanding achievement. I'm honored to have Nicholas and his family here this evening. Mr. President, I'd ask that the resolution be read in full.
The clerk will read the resolution in full.
Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to Nicholas Jackson in recognition of your achievement as the 2020 Junior World Finals Bull Riding Champion and admirably representing Southern Maryland on a national stage. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 23rd day of March 2021.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. Mr. Jackson, the Senate of Maryland unanimously wants to celebrate your incredible 2020 Junior World Finals Bull Riding Championship and for being such a remarkable representative for the state of Maryland. We thank you for your great work and wish you the absolute best in the years ahead. So keep up the great work. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you. Thank you, Senator from the 27th District, for inviting Mr. Jackson with us. I believe, Senator, that there was a video that you may be able to pass along to senators.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, I'll make sure that all members get a copy of the video. He rode a real bull for 8 seconds easily.
Very cool. Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, we'll make sure that we get that out to all the members so that they can see Mr. Jackson's wonderful, no relation, incredible efforts. It's a pretty dangerous sport. It's intense. Wonderful. Oh, good way to start. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our work for the day. We've got messages from the House. This is calendar number 26. The clerk will read the bills.
House Bill 67, Delegate Corman, I-495 and I-270 Public-Private Partnership Agreement Requirements, Maryland DOT Promises Act of 2021. This is an emergency bill.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. We now have a reassignment. Clerk will read the reassignment.
In accordance with Rule 33D, the following legislation has been reassigned. House Bill 44, Delegate Frazier Hidalgo, Clean Airs Act of 2021, reassigned to Finance and Budget and Taxation.
All right. We do the best we can, but when we get it wrong, we fix it. Right? All right. We've got some second readers now. Let's go ahead and start with Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. This is calendar number 30. Clerk will read the bills.
Senate Bill 548, Senator Augustine, Public Schools, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Surveys revisions, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the Committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a really interesting bill that is about gathering anonymous data on our young people. This is going to be requiring that the Maryland State Department of Education work with the Centers for Disease Control on a survey that gathers information so we find out where the challenges are with sexual abuse, drug use, smoking, and a lot more. There were 2 amendments. One is technical changes to the bill's title, and the other is going to require the Maryland State Department of Education to administer the survey in coordination with the Department of Health, require at least 5 questions on positive childhood experiences rather than all tiers and questions. They're going to strike provisions repealing the Department of Education's authority and establish various reporting requirements. Again, this is anonymous. You're not looking to get results on any one student, but just getting a global idea of where the challenges are with our young people today. The bill passed 10-1, and it's a really interesting bill. I move the legislation, the favorable report with 2 amendments, Mr. President.
All right, Senators move for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question is the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 548 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 637, Senator Hayes, Community Development Administration, Live Near Your Schools Program Establishment, favorable with 3 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 637 establishes the Live Near Your School program. Now, we're very familiar with these state incentives to encourage police officers, teachers, a lot of businesses try to incentivize individuals to live and work in the communities. And what this bill would do would be to extend this program to graduate students and undergraduate students, students who have graduated individuals who have graduated within 5 years. As drafted, this program would have been mandated and would have had a large fiscal note. I believe it would have been worth the investment, but the committee amendments strike that and make it a authorizing bill. So the first amendment makes technical changes. It authorizes, and instead of requiring the Community Development Administration to administer the program. And finally, the amendment alters the definition of current student to recent graduate for both programs. The third amendment places a 3-year sunset on the bill's provisions. And again, why this legislation is important is that Maryland educates a great number of doctors, lawyers, dentists, and we export them to other states. We want to make sure that they've been educated in Maryland and that they also have an opportunity to contribute to the quality of life in Maryland and to, yeah, that sounds good. I ask for your favorable ask for your adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 3 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The three committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 637 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 946, Senator Bailey, Historic St. Mary's City Fort to 400 Commission, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from the Lower Eastern Shore as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank my chair for allowing me to be the floor leader for Senate Bill 946. This would establish the Historic St. Mary's City Fort to 400 Commission. And this means this commission will be directed to plan and conduct observances commemorating the 400th anniversary of Maryland's founding in 2034. The 400th anniversary of Maryland's founding will be a tremendous event for our entire state. It's also important to begin this work now because it will allow this commission to integrate some of the exciting current developments at historic St. Mary's City, particularly the discovery of St. Mary's Fort. So I know we're looking forward for this work to begin, and the bill sponsors worked very hard on this. And there are only one amendment, just to add co-sponsors, and I move for a favorable report of 946 with the amendment.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. Questions on the amendment? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 946 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, let's go to budget and taxation. Calendar 20. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 885, Senator Hester, Economic and Community Development Income Tax Credit for Catalytic Revitalization Projects, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from Prince George's as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is Senate Bill 885, and it creates a tax credit against the state income tax for 20% of qualified rehabilitation costs, which were incurred for a catalytic revitalization property in the state. The bill is, well, let me just explain this because I had to look it up myself. What is a catalytic revitalization project? It's a project that needs substantial rehabilitation. It's a historical property that was formerly owned by the state or federal government and includes a property that was used as a college or university, K through 12 school, hospital, mental health facility, or military installation. So that's what a catalytic revitalization property is. So what this bill does is it requires a redevelopment of historic government complexes steering committee to continue work and report out by December 31st. Has three amendments. Authorizes nonprofit entities to claim the credit, authorizes transfer of credits, and authorizes carry forward of credit. Move support of Senate Bill 885. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. President?
Floor leader has moved to adopt the two committee amendments of the favorable committee report. Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Would the floor leader yield?
Would the floor
for a
leader
question?
yield?
Probably going to yield to the sponsor, but
Well, this is
deeply involved with this
I
property.
suspect you may not.
This is a new concept for me too. Given the criteria, do we know approximately how many projects or locations would fulfill the criteria?
Is it okay if I yield to the sponsor?
Does the sponsor of the bill wish to yield?
Thank you for the chairman. Thank you for the question, Mr. Chairman. I think that there are numerous projects in the state of Maryland. In my district in particular, there's the Springfield Hospital, but I think any of the older hospitals, such as Crownsville or the Tome School, I think even Fort Henry, all of these old previously owned complexes would qualify for this.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, question on the two committee amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 885 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right. We've got the Committee on Judicial Proceedings. This is calendar 23. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 17, Senator Carrozza, criminal law, life-threatening injury involving a motor vehicle or vessel, criminal negligence, Wade's Law, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 17 establishes the offense of life-threatening injury by motor vehicle or a vessel. A person is prohibited from causing a life-threatening injury to another as a result of driving, operating, or controlling a motor vehicle or a vessel in a criminally negligent manner. For purposes of this offense, a person acts in a criminally negligent manner with respect to the result of a circumstance when, 1, the person should be aware but fails to perceive that the person's conduct creates a substantial and unjustifiable risk that such a result will occur, and 2, the failure to perceive constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care that would be exercised by a reasonable person. The bill does not apply to simple negligence. A violator is guilty of a misdemeanor and on conviction is subject to maximum penalties of imprisonment for 18 months and or a fine of $5,000. The committee vote on this bill was unanimous. There are no committee amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Discussion on the report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 17 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 250, Senator Lee, criminal law, sexual crimes, repeal of spousal defense. Love is no defense to sexual crimes, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, the bill repeals an exemption for prosecution of specified sex crimes if, at the time of the alleged rape or sexual offense, the person was the victim's legal spouse. The amended bill alters the definition of sexual conduct as applied specifically to the prohibition on fourth-degree sexual assault. There are 2 committee amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical and makes changes to the title. Amendment number 2 alters the definition of sexual conduct, exempting certain conduct from the definition of the term as it pertains to a specified prohibition against fourth-degree sexual assault. We ask that you move favorable to the committee report with the 2 amendments.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments to the favorable committee report. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Thank you. Would the floor leader yield?
Will the floor leader
Yes.
yield? Senator may proceed.
Certainly.
So I just saw this bill. Can you tell me how this affects married couples that are living together? Does this have any impact on them? I quickly looked over the language and it seemed like it didn't apply, like if they were separated or things like that. But if they're married, could they be charged with a fourth-degree sex offense?
Under the current law, if they're married, they have a complete defense to a sexual crime. However, if they're separated, like for a period, I believe, of 3 months, and they have some sort of agreement, then the state's attorneys can prosecute for a sexual offense.
Okay, so just so I understand, if you have a married couple living together, under this
usually,
bill...
yeah, married couples do live together.
Yeah, most of them do, not all. But in any event...
Well, usually they do, yes.
Okay. So anyway, if you have a married couple living together, could they, under this bill now, be eligible to get a fourth-degree sex offense charge against them for...
If they are married and one spouse commits a fourth-degree sexual offense, they would not have the spousal immunity.
Okay, and...
Or spousal defense, excuse me.
So a fourth-degree sex offense, without getting too graphic, is just basically inappropriate touch. Like somebody walking down the street, you would touch them inappropriately, but if you're married...
If you marry, you have a defense. If you're not married, you don't.
So under this bill, if you're married and you inappropriately touch your spouse, would this bill have any impact on that in any case?
There has to be no, under this bill, there has to be no consent. If there's consent, then it would not apply. And the type that you're talking about is probably an intentional touching, genital, anal, or other intimate area for sexual gratification or the use of a party. It's not a common
President.
expression of familial or friendly affection, and usually, if you're in a married situation, there's consent or not consent.
Senator, would the senator yield to the chairman of the committee?
Yes,
Yeah.
certainly.
Would Senator, chair of the committee?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you for the question. Just before we get too far down the line here, if you look at the reprint, like on your laptop, so there was an amendment offered in committee that clarifies what you're asking for with respect to the fourth degree, and so the clarifying language is on it's the first page of the bill, bottom. The amendment was adopted, I think, 9-2, but if you read it, it just is for the purposes of the subject, only in the case the two individuals engage in an ongoing consensual relationship, physical contact commonly engaged by two individuals in a sexual relationship, unless one of those individuals has reasonably indicated to the other that further physical contact is unwanted. So that's the clarifying amendment that the committee adopted with two, I think, maybe three. I don't know if the vote was on that amendment, but there were some dissenting. I actually dissented against this amendment, but that should cover what you're talking about.
If I could follow up with you on one.
Sure.
So that says on certain type of relationships, I'm assuming the legal language that includes marriage would fall under that exemption as well then?
That's exactly what this amendment was aimed at. This is the goal of this entire bill was initially to address married couples, not unmarried couples. So this amendment clarifies for those in a marriage. So yes.
So let me just ask you, spouse get angry once in a while. If someone's, angry, whatever, and then the other spouse comes up and touches them, is that would be a crime of fourth degree under this because it said it's not wanted?
No, because it's got to be something that the other spouse has clearly articulated that, hey, this is unwanted, stop. So under this amendment, that's what that language addresses. So what you're describing under the original bill, that may have been part of the conversation. As the amendment has been adopted, not part of the conversation at this moment.
All right, further discussion on the amendments. All in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 250 is hereby ordered, printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 369, Senator Peters, Child Abuse and Neglect Memorandum of Understanding with Military Family Advocacy Program, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Frederick County as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This bill requires a local Department of Social Services that has a U.S. military installation located within its jurisdiction to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Military Family Advocacy Program. There are no committee amendments, and I would move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 369 is hereby ordered, printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 484, Senator Heddleman, Criminal Procedure, Victims of Crime, Private Room, favorable.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senate Bill 484 requires the State Board of Victim Services to develop a poster to notify victims of the right to request a private room in a law enforcement agency or unit to report crimes under Title III of the criminal law article. The bill also requires each law enforcement agency to display the poster and provide on request a private room to a victim to report information related to such crimes. There are no committee amendments. There was a unanimous vote. I move for the favorable adoption of the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 484 is hereby ordered, printed for third reader. All right, next we have the layover calendar. I think some of these will be special ordered. This is calendar 17. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 588, the Speaker, Budget Bill, Fiscal Year 2022. Question is on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I move the special order until the appropriate time on Wednesday?
On Wednesday. Senator moves the special order of the bill until Wednesday. Any objections? Without objections, so ordered. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 589, the Speaker, Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act of 2021. Questions on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Move the special order to the appropriate time on Wednesday.
Senators move the special order of the bill till Wednesday. Any objections? Without objections, so ordered. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 420, Senator Carter, Criminal Law, Drug Paraphernalia for Administration, Decriminalization. Question is on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
All right, question is on the two committee amendments.
Mr. President?
Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from District 5.
I am awaiting an amendment, which I know we haven't not adopted the favorable committee report yet, but I'm awaiting an amendment. So I don't know if we could move this a little bit later in the calendar.
We can try. We can do it at the end of the calendar. We'll see where we are. I don't.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, let's check with the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Moving it to the end of the calendar would be fine.
All right. So let's. If there's no objections, we'll special order the bill until the end of the calendar today.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Clerk. Let's see. Now we are on third readers. Third readers. We are moving quickly. Let's do a quorum call before third reading calendar.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. We've got third reading calendar number 48. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 105, Senator Signor, Peace Orders, Workplace Violence.
Senate Bill 105 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call.
Thank you.
With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 105, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 133, Senator Roosevelt, Local Tax Relief for Working Families Act of 2021.
Senate Bill 133 is on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Thank you. If the floor leader would yield.
Will the floor leader yield? Appears so. Senator,
Yes,
Senator
sir.
Proceed.
So if I understand the tax bracket system, it basically raises the tax rate, percentage rate on higher income and lowers it for the lower income. Is that basically the thought of it, so it's not a flat tax?
And that's what a progressive income tax is.
Okay, so my question is, why did this bill raise the minimum tax that our local jurisdictions could tax? I mean, it raised it 125%.
I understand. It was in consultation with MACO. It's designed to integrate with the disparity grant. That's why we did it. We wanted to make sure that it covered the interests of the whole variety of counties with this option.
Okay, but this says it's to help the working families.
Yep.
It would seem you'd want to have the counties have more flexibility to have the lower income have a lower tax rate than the higher ones. And I'm just, okay, so you just did, let me ask you another question. This was saying that, you know, the state does a progressive tax bracket and all that. Why did this bill think it was necessary to have a higher minimum tax than the state actually sets out for their lowest?
Again, because the interaction with the disparity grant program, that's what MACO wanted.
Well, I'm not too concerned about MACO. I'm looking at the working families.
I'm just saying, this is about giving power to county governments, and there was a long discussion about it. It's a complex area to serve both interests, and this is what the conclusion the committee came to.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to talk about the bill a little.
Thank you.
Senator may proceed on the bill.
So we have a Local Tax Relief for Working Families Act of 2021. And the problem I have with that, there's not a single word in this bill that guarantees that working families will get a tax break from this bill. All this does is says that local politicians can change the tax rate. And on top of that, we had a 1% minimum that we could tax. And this adds 125% increase to the lowest wages. And not only that, it even goes beyond what the state does. So we're going to let the counties tax our lowest rates at a higher rate than the state does. And then we're going to call it a tax relief bill. And the way it's set up right now, there's jurisdictions that I can guarantee won't get a single penny in tax release based on their tax rates. I think this is a little misleading in the title, and it's time that we just stop taxing. We've been taxing all session, and we just keep enabling more taxes and more taxes. We keep raising the rates, and I think it's just time that we stop taxing, whether at the state level or at the local level. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any further discussion on the bill? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 133, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 360, Senator Rosapep. State Government, Notaries Public, Notary Public Fund, and Remote Notarial Acts.
Senate Bill 360 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 360, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 377, Senator Peters, Income Tax Subtraction Modification, Military and Public Safety Retirement Income.
Senate Bill 370 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 370, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 535, Senator King, Condominiums and Homeowner Associations, Meeting Requirements.
Senate Bill 535 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 535, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 587, Senator Signor, Task Force on Facial Recognition, Privacy Protection.
Senate Bill 587 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 587, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 607, Senator Jackson, Criminal Law, Harm to Service Animals.
Senate Bill 607 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 607, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 631, Senator Kagan, Work Group to Study and Implement a Statewide 311 Non-Emergency Telephone System.
Senate Bill 631 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 631, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 750, Charles County Senators, Charles County Community Release and Pretrial Release Programs Authorization.
Senate Bill 750 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 750, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 909, Senator Smith, Capital Projects, Minority Business Enterprise Goals.
Senate Bill 909 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 909, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, Senators, we have some calendars that are prepared but will require a waiver. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that we suspend Rule 24 to allow all the bills on this calendar to have 2 readings on a single day.
And Senator, that is calendar number 49. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, Senators, please, on the floor system, review calendar number 49. 49. If there are any...
Mr. President?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you. I'd like to be recorded as yay on Senate Bill 105.
Oh, and the prior one. Give us just... what bill was that, Senator?
SB 105.
105 in the green?
Yes.
Are there any objections to the Senator's motion? Without objection, so ordered. All right, so on the floor right now, we have a motion to suspend the rules to suspend Rule 24, requiring 2 readings on separate days. Are there any bills on this list that Senators wish to separate out? This is just a vote on the rules, the waiver of the rules. Make sure that everybody understands where we are. So we're voting on whether to suspend the rules for bills on calendar 49. All right. All in favor of the suspension of the rules say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Rule 24 having been suspended, we are now on calendar 49. The clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 548, Senator Augustine, Public Schools Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Surveys Revisions.
Senate Bill 548 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 548, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 637, Senator Hayes, Community Development Administration, Live Near Your School Program Establishment.
Senate Bill 637 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 637, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 885, Senator Hester, Economic and Community Development Income Tax Credit for Catalytic Revitalization Projects.
Senate Bill 885 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 885, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 946, Senator Bailey, Historic St. Mary's City Fort to 400 Commission.
Senate Bill 946 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 946, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend Rule 24 to allow all the bills on calendar number 50 to have 2 readings on a single day.
All right, Senators, please, on the floor systems, we have calendar 50. Calendar 50, take a minute. We have plenty of time. Review the bills on calendar 50. So the majority leader has moved to suspend the Rule 24, to hear the bills on the same day. Are there any senators that wish to remove any of the bills? If not, all in favor of the suspension of Rule 24 say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Rule 24 having been suspended, we are now on third reading calendar number 50. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 17, Senator Carrozza, Criminal Law, Life Training, Threatening Injury Involving a Motor Vehicle or Vessel, Criminal Negligence, Wade's Law.
Senate Bill 17 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 17, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 250, Senator Lee, Criminal Law, Sexual Crimes, Fourth-Degree Sexual Offense, and Spousal Defense.
Senate Bill 250 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 250, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 369, Senator Peters, Child Abuse and Neglect Memorandum of Understanding with Military Family Advocacy Program.
Senate Bill 369 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 369, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 484, Senator Handelman, Criminal Procedure Victims of Crime Private Room.
Senate Bill 484 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 484, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we have one bill on the special order calendar. This was the bill we'd heard earlier, 420. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 420, Senator Carter, Criminal Law, Drug Paraphernalia for Administration, Decriminalization. Question is on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
Question is on the two committee amendments. On the two committee amendments, Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District.
Yeah, Mr. President, it's actually on the favorable committee report.
Can we take up the amendments first, Senator?
Yes.
All right. Any discussion on the amendments? All in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th.
Thank you. Floor leader yield for a question?
Will the floor leader yield for a question? It appears so. Senator may proceed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I had to wait till you spoke. I can't see you over there. Just looking at this bill, so we took hypodermic needles and syringes out of the definition of controlled paraphernalia, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now with that change, then we go to the rest of the law. We go down on page 2, section 5619. So now what we have now is that a person cannot use basically gel caps to pack, store, conceal, but you could use a needle and syringe to pack, store, conceal controlled dangerous substances, correct?
So I'm not going to say you could or you couldn't, because the things that are taken out under this bill simply make being in possession of those things not an arrestable offense on the first time.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. I'm just looking at the bill, and we took out needles and syringes. So if I take those out of the definition of paraphernalia, and I go to section 5619, then what that leaves us with is that you could not use gel caps, for example, to process, package, store, contain, or conceal a controlled dangerous substance, but you could use a needle and a syringe. And likewise, you could also, it would be, you could use a needle and syringe to inject a controlled dangerous substance, but you cannot use a gel cap to ingest a controlled dangerous substance. That's what the bill now says, right?
It could say that, I believe you, but I'm not seeing, what's the exact line where you're seeing the gel caps?
I'm looking at 5619. We left gel caps and gel caps, glassine envelopes, and other suitable containers for packaging quantities of controlled dangerous substances. We left those in the definition of paraphernalia, but all we took out was needles and syringes. So you could legally use needles and syringes now to pack, process, conceal, or inject controlled dangerous substances, but you could not use gel caps for those same purposes. That's what the law would now say, correct?
Well, I see that the gel caps and glassine envelopes are out, but I do want to clarify that I don't think anything about this bill says you can use these things. This bill is about someone being in possession of these things, including those people that are legally authorized to dispense them.
Yeah. Well,
So
let's.
being
I mean,
in possession
yeah.
is not the same thing as using.
Yeah. Well, but you took it out of the definition. We took it out of the definition, and so if on page 2 of the bill, section 5619. So what that talks about is, there's ramifications. When you make a change, you go with the whole change, not a piece of the change. And because of the change, if you look on page 2, 5619, what that now says is, since syringes and needles are out, that when we have the prohibition on using and possessing of these devices with the intent to process, package, store, or conceal, or ingest or inhale, you could use a needle and syringe to do all those things. You just couldn't use a gel cap or any other device. That's what it says, right?
Yes. Would you prefer that those things be included?
I'm just pointing out what we have with this bill right now. Then if you go down to section D down there, it says a person may not deliver or sell, manufacture or possess with the intent to deliver or sell drug paraphernalia. So with the change we now have in there, you could sell and manufacture and possess with the intent to you could do all that stuff for needles and syringes, but you couldn't do that for glassine to gel caps, right?
No.
And then if you go down below that,
If
yeah,
you
go ahead.
recall amendment number 2 in the committee, we took out the sell and deliver for these things to make sure that we were not authorizing it or decriminalizing it for sellers of these items, but for users. The bill is designed to.
Yeah, I'm looking at the reprint that was 578176, which is the last reprint. And the last reprint says that you could sell or possess needles and syringes with the intent to use them to manufacture, store, and conceal CDS, but you could not use gel caps for that same purpose. So we've now legalized that. And then moving on to page 3, it says that in section 5620, again, because we took that out of the definition, it says that we cannot obtain gel caps by fraud, deceit, counterfeit, or false ID, but we could obtain needles and syringes by counterfeit, fraud, direct counterfeit, deceit. You could obtain needles and syringes in that fashion, right? That's 5620. So we've now, they're fair game now. And then if I go down to paragraph 2 under 620A2, I can possess needles and syringes with the intent to illegally manufacture, distribute, and dispense CDS. I can possess them for that legal intent, but I can't possess gel caps for the same purpose. So that's where we are now with the law, right?
So, Senator, technically, I think that you're correct, but the focus of the bill being on needles and syringes is because that's what people generally use that are addicts to ingest the drug, and that's also what we have authorized different organizations and entities and persons to distribute for public safety reasons.
I mean, unfortunately, though, the law is technically, and whatever it says technically is correct. It's not just technically correct, it's correct or incorrect, and it's correct. So we bring this bill in on the theory that the people, I remember the hearing on this, the people who do the free needle distribution, they had some problems because sometimes the police wouldn't understand that, hey, under current law, you can do that. You can't arrest somebody. Well, you can arrest somebody anytime you want, but you can't prosecute them and you can't convict them for engaging in free needle exchange if they're part of a group that's allowed to do that. So, in the interest of trying to keep those people rolled up, we made this real big amendment and took hypodermic needles and syringes completely out of the law. So now we have all these unintended consequences where I can manufacture them, I can hide them, I can steal them, I can do all kind of terrible stuff because we went too far. Couldn't we just simply have clarified, maybe given out IDs? We could give out IDs to needle and syringe distribution people and said, hey, if you have one of these cards, it's a state ID card, and you're authorized to carry needles and syringes to distribute to addicts. I mean, that would have been a better solution.
So these authorized groups and persons that work for these authorized groups, they actually are given business ID cards, but what they've testified to and complained about and attested to is the fact that police don't many don't know and some don't care. So even if they have been stopped and they have their identification card, their business card, and says they're authorized to dispense these things, the police will say, tell it to the judge, I'm going to arrest you anyway, and you can sort that out in court. Or they will say, I don't know if that's a legitimate ID. And so there has been a real problem with these workers that are authorized to distribute these things. That is something that they testified to as a problem, and they needed this to be clarified under the law, because even though we authorize it, we say it's legal for them to do it, the police did not honor that in all instances.
I mean, it's interesting because we said that the police aren't going to obey the law anyway, so we're going to pass another law. So I'm not sure what we're doing here, because you're telling me the police aren't going to obey the first law, so we'll pass a different law. Unfortunately, with the second law, we have all these unintended consequences of basically legalizing the manufacturing, hiding, and all kind of bad stuff from needles and syringes that we never should have done. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, no, I don't agree. I think that this is specifically designed for users, and this is designed to help them be able to feel like they can do things like seek treatment without being arrested, like they can benefit or take advantage of these programs that allow them to have clean equipment so they aren't spreading diseases and viruses. Like, that is what this is designed to do.
Yeah, and I have no problem with trying to assist the users and get them to medical treatment. The problem is that when we did this, by taking these out of the statute, out of the definition, we didn't just help the users, we helped the manufacturers, the distributors, the people who want to hide and propagate these terrible drugs, the people that foist these things onto an innocent population. We actually are helping them, if not as much, possibly more than we are the users, because now they can box this stuff up and sell it openly on the streets, and not a darn thing the cops can do about it, is there?
Well, I don't agree with you, because I think
That's what the law says. Thank you.
we took out selling and distributing, that's what we took out.
All right, questions on the adoption of the favorable report as amended. Any further discussion? Chair recognizes the senator from District 8.
Yes, I have a question for the floor leader.
Question for the floor leader. Floor leader yield.
If you had gel caps.
Yes.
You don't have empty gel caps, do you?
No.
So if you would have gel caps, yes, you would get arrested because the drugs would be in the gel cap. Is that right?
Well, if the drug's in the gel cap, the bill wouldn't apply, because the bill only applies to the paraphernalia, not the drugs.
Okay.
But also, generally, gel caps do include drugs. So what this was designed to do is those paraphernalia that generally are used to administer but may not necessarily come with the drug.
Yeah. With the conversations that were going back and forth, I was getting a little confused. So it's just the paraphernalia, the syringes, right?
Yes.
Okay. And will this help well, that's okay, because...
So just to be clear, if there's drugs, if there's residue of drugs, that doesn't apply here. This is only for those paraphernalia that are generally used to administer the drug and that are dispensed legally but often criminalized.
So there's no drugs involved?
No.
Right.
No drugs involved.
And that really helps the court system to speed up and more expedient, so...
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
All right, question is on the report. On the report. All in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any other amendments to the bill or its title? Chair recognizes the senator from District 5.
Well, Mr. President, I'm still awaiting an amendment, but I don't know, is this the end of our calendar?
This is the end of our calendar.
Well, I'd like to move to special order for tomorrow's I guess it's Wednesday's session.
Let's see what the will of the body is. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Mr. President, ordinarily I'd like to accommodate, but we've just moved bills on 2 calendars because we're up against the deadline, and so I'd resist the special order and ask that we could just move the bill along.
Well, just a moment. Hold. Give us just a moment. We may have just magically had an amendment.
Has fortune smiled upon us, Mr. President?
The DLS print shop is as fast as they come. Does the senator like to withdraw the amendment, or withdraw the special order?
I would be glad to.
I think the senator may have an amendment. Does the senator have the number?
Yes. Oh, wow, it's popped up on my screen. Wonderful. Just a moment. But my amendment, and I apologize that I have not shared it with the floor leader. The amendment is 903-928/1.
903-928. All right, senators, it should be available on the computer now. Senator may explain the amendment.
Okay. I'm looking at the draft of the amendment to make sure we've got what we got here. So I was concerned when I read the bill, Mr. President, because we had some back and forth exchange earlier today, the floor leader and I, about what happens now if this bill passes as is. What happens to people who are now caught with heroin, crack, other types of paraphernalia for these kind of drugs? I'm particularly concerned, by the way, if they're caught with a lot of it, which because the bill removes the definition as being something that's wrong. It's basically saying it's all legal. It's basically all legal. I thought the answer would be, oh, there's still a citation and there's still some sort of penalty, but there's really not in the bill. So basically what we've done is gone from something being absolutely criminal and be something that's subject to, even jail time or a heavy fine, to being just not illegal and no restrictions. Contrast that with what we've done, this body has done in the past with marijuana when it was decriminalized. We put a fine and a must appear on if you're caught smoking it in public. There were several other things we did, but particularly that smoking in public piece, we had a fine and a must appear. So what I've done with this amendment is to say that if a person violates this, if a person has this drug paraphernalia, that they'd be guilty of a civil offense, subject to a fine not exceeding $500, and the police officer shall issue a citation to the person, and it requires them to appear. It requires them to appear for the citation. The court will summon them to a trial, and they have to appear. Now, why do we do the must appear? Why not just a citation and a fine? Well, if we're decriminalizing something, it's something we clearly think is not something we want to. It's a question of whether we're decriminalizing or whether we're making it completely legal. And in the parlance of the General Assembly we've used in the past of marijuana is when we talked about decriminalization, we've not said it's not a completely legal drug that can be sold freely. We're saying we're decriminalizing it. Here, it's like we said decriminalize on the bill, but it's basically making it just completely legal. So what my amendment does is say we want people who are caught with paraphernalia. We don't want it to be a criminal offense. I understand that's the goal of the bill. I may not agree, but I understand that's the goal of the bill. What we want to be able to do is say, you will get a fine, you will get a citation, and you must appear before a judge, because our goal ought to be, we don't want to criminalize people who are addicted to drugs. We've agreed as a body of that. I think pretty much all of us in here, I would think, agree. But we do want to get them into treatment. We want it to be something that shocks the system to say, hey, you need to get into treatment. You need help. So the fine and the must appear will make sure this is still a serious offense, but it is not going to go on their criminal record. So with that, Mr. President, and I apologize for the less than artful description because I just got the amendment draft back, but that is the goal of this amendment, and I would move the amendment because I think it's an important distinction to make. Decriminalizing something, but it's still not something you can just possess without any consequence versus just making something completely legal. So, Mr. President, I would move the amendment.
Senator moves the amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President and the body. I can understand the spirit and intent of the amendment, but I would ask the body to reject the amendment, and here's why. The goal of this bill is to take that fear of jail, incarceration, court away from the person that is in need of treatment. There's a lot of research that shows that this concept that we must hold criminal sanctions or court or some mandate that if you don't do this, then this is going to happen over people that are addicted isn't necessarily the successful way to treat them. But when they feel that they can get treatment without the repercussion of arrest, jail, court, they're more inclined to do it, and do it in a way that is more helpful to them. So I don't think that we need to do it. Just to clarify the bill imposes a fine, just a fine on the first time, and then it does reduce on a second time. So if it happens a second time, there's still a criminal sanction. It's just reduced from what it used to be. So it's not as if we're saying you could do this over and over and over and over again. So for that reason, I don't think that we need the amendment.
All right, on the amendment, Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I rise in support of this amendment. The reason is this amendment removes the jail time. It is civil. We know that there are 3 ways to treat drug addiction. It's done through detection, rehabilitation, and education. That's the 3 ways. Now, I've got to tell you, when I started in law enforcement, as a senator from Calvert County will attest, we thought we could arrest our way out of a drug problem. Well, that did not work. It has not worked. But when we talk about detection, a civil penalty assists the community with that. This is a good amendment in that regard because of the fact when we talk about this from a police officer's perspective, we always see, and I'm sure every one of us has been to areas in our district where we see needles, used needles, syringes laying on the ground. That is often a result of these individuals, not a fear of being arrested. That is from a fear of these people being ripped off or somebody going to steal what they have. So once they use it, they drop it. If we make a law that completely allows them to keep this on their body, we are going to have more people, more first responders, more people that ride in ambulances, EMTs, firemen. They're all going to be being stuck, stabbed, and hurt by these needles. People are going to be, well, they're not wrong to have. We're going to keep them right on our body every time we come in contact with them. And I'm going to tell you from working out there with it, the fear of hepatitis and getting AIDS through a needle stick is serious. We'll be green on this amendment.
Thank you, Senator. We have a bit of breaking news. The women's Terps team, in a very, very close game, have pulled it off. Coach Freeze, the Terps have beat Mount St. Mary's 98-45. 98-45. So onwards they go. Keep dancing. All right. Question still remains on the amendment. Any further discussion? Chair recognizes the minority whip.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President. Actually, I have a question because I know this bill came out of our committee, but now I'm confused. For the floor leader, just really brief.
Will the floor leader yield? Senator may proceed.
I was under the impression that we removed needles from paraphernalia, so there was no fine anymore.
I'm sorry, that's correct.
Okay, thank you very much, floor leader. Mr. President, thank you, the floor leader. All right, so I just want to speak in favor of the amendment then. So it's been said on the floor we needed this to decriminalize it for these mobile vans that go and give needles. Those were decriminalized in 2016. The problem is if we don't take this amendment, is if a police officer comes up upon, let's say, 2 teenagers and they've got the spoons, the needles, everything there, the police officer just can't do anything. It just said needles are totally taken out of this. And so you would think you'd want to get them some way into the system where you can get them treatment or help. And without this amendment to make it a fine and a must appear, it's not jailable by the senator's amendment. It's just a must appear. You're trying to get them in the court system to get people help. But otherwise, a police officer stumbles upon people, like my colleague who just stood who was a police officer, stumbles upon people with needles, and they can't do anything. You say, carry on, go on your way. So I don't think that's a good policy. So I'm voting green on the amendment.
All right. Any further discussion on the amendment? Chair recognizes the senator from the Lower Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll be brief. I just want to support the amendment in areas like Ocean City on the boardwalk, the scenarios that were just described. That will be happening in my hometown, and so I think this is a very reasonable amendment, and I would ask my colleagues to support it.
All right, on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Roll call, Mr. President.
There's a request and a roll call. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote?
And just to be clear, if I could explain my vote, Mr. President?
Yes, Senator, just give us a moment.
Sorry.
Would you explain their vote? Yes, Senator has 2 minutes to explain his vote.
Yeah, just very quick. I apologize for interrupting you, Mr. President. So this is a very important amendment. I think that it will make this bill much better and safer if the goal is decriminalization. We should make sure that we should make sure that it's actually decriminalization, but still with the stick of holding people accountable for having this, so that we can find out what's going on, get them into treatment, get them help. We shouldn't just make it all completely legal with no consequences for this kind of action and behavior. So I'd ask the body to vote green. Thank you.
All right. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 28 votes in the negative, the senator's amendment fails. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 420 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, senators, the desk is clear. The desk is clear. Good news, since we have been so efficient, looks like we can get a little bit of a reprieve tomorrow, so we will not have a floor session tomorrow. So sleep in till 8:30 or so, and start voting session then. No, just... all right, but that's it. That's all we got for the day. Let's go with announcements. Chair recognizes the Chair of Finance. Committee announcements.
On tomorrow, Finance will have a bill hearing. We have 13 bills to hear at 1, and following that, a half hour later, we will be voting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair recognizes the Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me. Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs will meet at 11 a.m. tomorrow to vote on the blueprint part 2, and then at 1 o'clock we have bill hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair recognizes the Chair of Budget and Tax.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing at the moment, but stay tuned for a possible afternoon voting session.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to say, as you can see, that every inch is earned in JPR, so I want to thank our extended family, the 47 members of our committee. Tomorrow we'll come in at 1 p.m. for voting, and then we'll follow that with the voting session. 1 p.m. for bill hearings, and then we'll follow that with the voting session.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman of the Rules Committee. Any announcements for the Rules Committee?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. The Rules Committee will meet tomorrow morning at 10:30.
10:30 for
We'll have our
Rules.
meeting tomorrow at 10:30.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 10:30 tomorrow. All right. Further announcements? Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore and Harford Counties.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to follow up on your breaking news about the University of Maryland's win.
Yes.
And just congratulate the school they beat, who it's first time to the conference in 26 years, Mount St. Mary's, and good school. A lot of good friends went there, including former Delegate Bill Frank and our former Secretary of State, Mary Kane. So
Well said. Thank you, Senator, for that observation. All right. Any further announcements? If not, quorum call before we adjourn.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 24th?
I think so.
At 10:30 a.m.
Without objection, so ordered. Happy crossover. Get some rest. Final stretch.